Still 20 House seats that are left in play, and Republicans need just 7 of them to flip the House. And while the results are still unclear, there is one thing that does remain clear. The red wave didn't materialize this midterm election season. Why? Well, one of former President Trump's former White House advisor nailed the analysis on Sunday Morning Futures.
I guess the number one reason for that is Democrat mastery of mail-in balloting, vote harvesting, and the machinery of the early vote in these states where they're voting for weeks, if not months, before the election. Financial disparity between the Democrats and Republicans is still enormous. Number 3 is the need to win independent voters by seizing on winning wedge issues and fighting for them with every breath that you have. Democrats do this, Republicans don't. Is there any voter in this country who believes that if Republicans won the House and the Senate, that they would immediately shut down the border crisis, that they would move heaven and earth, shut the government down if they had to seal up that southern border, to save this country from open borders? Nobody believes that.
All right, so there's obviously a lot to unpack there. But, Charlie, let's go ahead and start in Nevada, for example, where we do know that 79% of the votes were early votes. Right? We have expanded election season. We give people more time to vote. They can do it in person early. In some places, they're mailing in their ballots, 79%. And now we know the Republicans have lost Nevada as well. And so we're waiting for that runoff in Georgia. If Herschel Walker were to win, we'd have a tie. But Vice President Harris, once again, would be the tiebreaker.
Right. And, you know, obviously this is a disaster. It's a week after the election, and we're still talking about it. And any conversation that you have about ballots and you talk about late early ballots, you probably have a problem if that's what you're talking about. But this notion that ballots that are cast on Election Day are the problem here, that's not the problem. The problem is that we are still voting, holding elections under this pandemic crisis mode where instead of Election Day, you have election week or election weeks. Which, of course, you know, not only does it actually invite real problems in terms of the credibility of the election, but then, you know, you have a situation like this where not only do you actually invite real problems with an accurate election, you also have everybody just thinking that the game is rigged and that the thing is fraudulent.
Perception is sometimes more important than reality to some people and in their minds. And we talked about this yesterday. Every vote counts. Every vote matters. Republicans, I think that they were exactly right when we said we need to get a handle on our election systems. We don't play the game. It's one thing to complain about the game. It's another thing that we don't play it at all. We still say vote on Election Day. We don't fight for those early votes. We don't ballot harvest. We don't play the games that the Democrats play because we want to be self-righteous, but we keep losing because we're that self-righteous. So we're going to have to play the game. We're going to have to do some of what they do.
There are two causes with one effect here. One is the technical issue of how elections are handled. I mean, if you want, the Democrats will pass a Voting Rights Act that will federalize how states elect federal offices, but that's not what Republicans want. So it's hard to complain in one hand about how some states hold their elections, while on the other hand advocating against any kind of federal law that would federalize those elections. So there has to be a little bit of you got to reconcile this a little bit. But if you go back to just strategy and how you win votes no matter how they come in, it's hard for me to stomach Rick Scott pointing a finger at Mitch McConnell for the way he elaborated his strategy, which was to talk about how bad Democrats are, when Rick Scott put out a tax plan that no other Republican supported, that the Democrats were able to message saying that because Rick Scott is Republican leadership, it was the Republican tax plan. So, you know, Rick Scott stands there and says, well, McConnell didn't have a good plan. Well, he can only say that because he put a plan out there that Democrats used against us. And so this is more about Republicans getting on the same page, or just as much as it is about how Pennsylvania or Nevada or Colorado does their elections.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Rick Scott, he was on Sunday Morning Futures earlier this morning. Let's take a listen.
We haven't even finished what's happened in Georgia. Here's my focus is we still got to win Georgia. I'm not going to take anything off the table, but my job right now is to do everything I can help Herschel with. I'm going to be there today helping Herschel. So that's what my focus is.
Charlie?
You know, I think that Rick Scott's exactly right about that. You know, it's easy to sit here and say that the Georgia race doesn't matter because it doesn't determine the outcome of Senate leadership, and he's correct about that. But Georgia is still a very, very important race. because especially going forward, that one vote is going to matter after 2 years and after 4 years, I suspect. But Mitch McConnell has a real problem on his hands right now because, and we're already starting to see people trying to circle the wagons in the Senate, trying to protect him. But the bottom line is, Mitch McConnell has been part of leadership for 20 years. He has been the leader for 15 years.
Yeah.
And so many of the problems, whether it is addressing this issue of the way voting is conducted in different states, whether we're talking about candidate selection, which he wants to dump all over, or we're talking about the message that Republicans carry forward, then I'm sorry, that falls to his feet. And, we were talking earlier, if you're a college football coach and you come up with a losing season like this, you're going to pay a hefty price.
Absolutely. And I don't want to jump right back in, but I'm not taking up for Mitch McConnell. I'm just saying I don't like the posture of some of these Republicans who are basically knives out seizing opportunities. And that's what Rick Scott looks like to me. And I think that's not unity. That's not getting on the same page. And just to go back to Georgia on a 50-50 versus 51-49, how much of the Democrats' legislative agenda that didn't pass or got passed with a lot of Republican input because of someone like Joe mentioned, how much of that is rubber stamped with 49 Republican senators over the last 2 years?
I just want to pause for a second and read you a tweet from Senator Josh Hawley. He said, "The old party is dead. Time to bury it. Build something new." Tomi.
A lot of Republican voters are feeling that way, but then we have to consider a whole new mess that's probably coming our way if we have a Trump announcement this week. And we're going to talk about that later. But if we're thinking we're divided now between McConnell and Rick Scott and all the rest of it, wait until Donald Trump's name is back in the running officially. I know he's been hinting at it for a long time, but when it's officially there, not only will that impact Georgia, likely, it's going to be whether Democrats hate Donald Trump or Republicans love Donald Trump enough to push Georgia over the line. But there's going to be a lot of issues in the Republican Party that we have 2 years to sort out. We better start today.
Yeah, no, and it's a good fight, and I think it's an important fight to have. But I do think it's important to remember that one thing that we saw last week is that Mitch McConnell isn't able to run a national election, and Donald Trump and the people who agree with him have at least won and come close.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.